Detroit done through and through. Welcome back. Steve and Will here. You know, if you see us, we're going to be talking some Detroit Lions football. And I'm going to tell you something real quick. We have been knocking on the door to 4,000 subscribers for a while. Help us get there because it's elusive. I'm not sure what's more elusive, us hitting 4,000 subscribers or Cam Sutton versus the police. I'm not sure which one's going to happen first. All right, hey, now that we've got you guys hooked in and you're ready for some top quality entertainment, we're going to be talking. Will, tell them what we're going to be talking.
Listen, I don't even know how you follow that right there, but we are going to be talking about what Mr. Chris Johnson, one of the fastest running backs in the NFL history, had to say about none other than Jahmyr Gibbs. Steve, spill it to him. What did Mr. Johnson have to say about Ja?
CJ2K, former Tennessee Titans legend. I think he's in their Ring of Honor too, if I'm not mistaken. He was on, I'm not sure who they are, not familiar with them. The BTM podcast. I don't know what that stands for. I looked it up on Google. It popped up on my TikTok, and I saw the quote where he was talking about Jahmyr Gibbs, saying how he was the fastest guy in the draft and the best running back in last year's draft class. That's something we can get him on board with because we also said the same thing. When it comes to being a complete back, it was Jahmyr Gibbs and then Bijan Robinson. So he also said that if Detroit Lions were smart, Jahmyr Gibbs would be the feature back starting this season. How do you feel about that?
Hey, I felt like that going into last season. So you know how I feel about it now. I felt like ever since that Baltimore Ravens game, man, the only one good thing happened in that Baltimore Ravens game, and that was the amount of
nobody died.
Yeah, well, that and the amount of touches that Jahmyr Gibbs got, man. And he even said it himself during that game. Something clicked. The game began to slow down for him. He started to learn how to run with a bit of patience and timing. And we've seen him step forward since that game. And I think now what we're seeing, we talked about it towards the end of last season. And I think I still believe it. I think he's a back that's comparable to somebody like Christian McCaffrey, to where we haven't even scratched the surface of what he can do in the passing game yet. And we've seen what he can do as a running back. He is a guy who can hit a home run. You know, he's a guy that can run in between the tackles or outside the tackles. And he's a guy that's more than able to catch passes out of the backfield. And I have a strong suspicion that we're going to see a lot more of that this season. So, Steve, how do you feel about the comments? Do you agree with the comments? Disagree? Where you at?
I'm right on the line. Correct me if I'm wrong, real quick. Wasn't Jahmyr Gibbs' first touchdown in that Baltimore game as well, if I'm not mistaken?
Sure was. Sure was.
Yeah, and you're right. He kind of started to take off, and he was catching some heat before that Baltimore game. A lot of mainly fantasy football owners were asking why he's not getting more touches, but we kind of saw some steady growth. We saw him just kind of getting his feet wet. But here's the thing. Last year, the offseason, I thought that one of the best signings we had last year was David Montgomery. Mm-hmm. For the price we got for him, what he can do. We saw what he did in Chicago with his shitty O-line. He comes to Detroit where he's got a better O-line. I thought he really thrived. I don't want to just say, hey, man, you did really good last year. Now you got to take a back seat. But I do think that there's a way that we can get Jahmyr Gibbs the ball more, and that's in the passing game. So I would like to see them on the field together at the same time, because we've been talking draft episodes for well over a month now. We've been talking about every receiver in the draft known to man, but I don't think we've seen really the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Jahmyr in the passing game. So why not put him at receiver? And I'm not saying full-time or switch him to receiver or put him as the X receiver, but why not just line him out there? Why don't you just put Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and Jahmyr Gibbs on the same side of the field and find me three corners or linebackers who are going to cover those three guys? Good luck.
So you're looking at more, instead of having them both in the backfield, Ja out wide or out at the slot position?
At times, not full-time.
Okay.
Just for a wrinkle.
Are you entertaining any of them guys in the backfield together at the same time?
I could see a scenario where maybe like we run like a, I don't know, not like a split eye offense with Jahmyr and Montgomery, and you know we've got the offensive line. You know, I'm not sure exactly what your blocking scheme would be, but why not just keep a defense guessing? If you put them both in the backfield, that's something that's not on tape. Like, whoa, hey, what's going on? They got 2,000-yard running backs back there. Yeah. Who's getting the ball? Who's responsible for who? It could create some confusion. I think if you at least have them on the field together, it creates confusion.
I wouldn't mind like some 20 personnel, or just where a guy is, or 21 personnel, 22 personnel, but or having where maybe Jahmyr leaves the backfield and goes in motion, but instead of just lining up per formation to a slot, one side or another, I would like to see maybe a shotgun, both those guys in the backfield, and then maybe exit the formation left or right and make those defenses adjust to where he's going, and cover him with a running start. Cover him without being able to get hands on him. He leaves that backfield. How you covering him? You got a safety entering the box. You got a linebacker bumping out of the box to chase him. Is there a nickel guy that's going to have to catch, who's going to have to tackle him? Because these are all problems, right? So if you got a safety coming down, entering the box to try to deal with them, now this guy has to come down while he's catching the short pass. Maybe now I got that space that I want to have to make my moves, and he's not an easy guy to bring down in the open field. If it's a linebacker that's on top of him, hey, if it's Ja against the linebacker, I take Ja. If it's a corner, I take Ja. There's not a lot of correct answers, but that's how I would like to see him. I would like to see him exiting that backfield with the option still to hand that bad boy off to David Montgomery, or maybe hit Laporta or Amon Ra on some type of RPO situation, man, to where, maybe you have Ja on a delayed route or a motion route, and then you got maybe Sam Laporta blocking for a split second and then releasing. I mean, all of those things are a lot of problems, man, for any defense to deal with. I would be excited to see something like that. But I agree with you, man. Get him more involved in the passing game. But I think he's our number one back, hands down. Not taking anything away from our guy Chuck Bruce. If you guys don't know who Chuck Bruce is, go. You got to dig way back to the beginning of this thing when we were talking about Chuck Bruce, but that's just a nickname for our guy David Montgomery.
I would say I'd tag that video at the end, but that was probably close to a year ago. I'm not digging back into the archives.
That's back in the archives, man. Back in the archives. But yeah, that was a cool story, man. It's definitely worth Googling if you don't know about it. But yeah, I think he's our number one back, man. Not taking anything away from David Montgomery. He's an absolute beast. And I think if anything, David Montgomery seems to have embraced the role as kind of a mentor. And I think he understands that this is going to do nothing but add some longevity to his career.
I wouldn't even mind seeing if, maybe the Detroit Lions, take a page out of the early 2000s Monroe High Trojans. Do we run that wing T offense, that vaunted speed option? Like there's a lot of things that we could do. And I think he's capable of being an every down back, but I don't think we have to use him as a pure running back. Like we have a football player that could do a lot of different things. And last year we didn't really see a whole lot of it. Like we've thrown out all kinds of different ways to use them. Can he be the feature back? Yes. Is that time right now? I don't think so. But it's not that he's not capable. I just think we have that damn good of a team that he doesn't have to play that role. I do think that there's a lot of scenarios, and we've talked about this. Where do the Lions struggle at a lot is coming out of the second half. 3 and outs, whether it's stupid penalties, but just really struggling in that third quarter. I think we kind of talked about, this was kind of off the wall, but it was a fan question. And I kind of liked it just to get the brain working a little bit. Someone asked, why not use Hendon Hooker to open up the third quarter to get, throw the defense off, give them something they haven't seen. Well, why don't we start using David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs in different types of ways as another wrinkle to kind of counteract that third quarter woe?
I think I would like to dig more into the analytics, or I would like for the Detroit Lions to dig more into the analytics, or game plan more into the analytics. And what I mean by that is each week, just attacking whatever the defense's weakness is from a personnel standpoint. So oftentimes, and I know fantasy football and high school football aren't the same, but when I'm looking at, I don't like to give too many gems, but I think this is something that you already know. But guys that are in our leagues, that I don't get your notebooks out because I'm not going to give too much out. But when you're looking from week to week, you're saying, hey, man, this defense isn't good against tight ends, or this defense gives up a lot to slot receivers. This defense gives a lot to the X receiver, So I think we're getting to a point with this offense that we have guys that can attack certain areas. So maybe the game plan is for JMO. this week because the team that we're going against has given up the deep ball consistently. Maybe the following week, the game plan is to run the ball down their throat, tough in between the tackles, man, because this is what the team that we're playing against this week. Like, we don't have to come out and be just our offense, do the things that we can do well, individually as an offense. No, we can make this thing and game plan this thing directly towards teams' weaknesses. And we can do that from a half-to-half standpoint. Maybe the first half is us, running the ball in between the tackles to David Montgomery because this is where this team is weak. And then maybe the second half when they come out and try to stop it, maybe that's when we split out Ja, or maybe we start attacking some outside stuff or whatever. But I would like to see us really attacking teams' weaknesses, and going into that week, I would like to start being able to look and say, hey, we're going up against the Green Bay Packers over the first 4 weeks of the season. This is where they struggle. And then look at the game afterwards and come on the show and say, hey, Steve, remember when we were looking at the Packers struggle at X, Y, and Z? Wasn't it great to see Ben exploit that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't see that last year.
Yeah, I think we definitely have an offense that's very versatile. Like, we have the two best running backs, the best offensive line, some solid receivers, one of the best tight ends. Like, we have different type of weapons that we can use that are very, very hard. And we might even draft a receiver in the first round, second round. That might be another new wrinkle. So I'm looking forward to seeing Ben Johnson kind of get over that hump, especially in the second half of games, and the offense in general. Like, it's not just on the offensive coordinator. Like, it's got to come down to some execution too. But I think if we just found a way to just kind of tweak the offense just a little bit so that we don't get it stale, like we've talked about. And that doesn't have to be drafting a receiver. Like, we got enough weapons where we can just change things up a little bit. We could do an episode on putting Sam Laporta as a wide receiver at times. Like, that's how much versatility this team has.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. I felt like Brad kind of gave us a little bit of fake news last year when we drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, because everything that he said, even when Inside the Den came out, man, he talked about how he didn't draft Jahmyr Gibbs to play running back. He drafted him as a weapon, right? And I don't know if he just forgot to send the email to Ben Johnson or Jared Goff or what, but they handed him the football most of the time.
Yeah.
They didn't do a lot of passing the football to him. So I'd like to see that conversation that he had, man, come to light. He told us as the fans, he said, hey, listen, Jahmyr Gibbs is a weapon. We drafted him as a weapon. He's going to be a weapon. He's not a running back. Show us, man. Put some. I want to see the proof in the pudding, man.
Yeah, I wish I could remember who it was that put that comment on the Hendon Hooker video. I'd have to go back and look, but it was a great question, and it got my brain working. And then on top of this, seeing these comments from Chris Johnson, just started thinking, like, we've talked a lot about adding a wide receiver. Maybe the receiver's on the team, and maybe he's not truly a wide receiver. Maybe he's a receiver who's listed at running back to give us that wrinkle, to give us some versatility, some more options, another face to game plan for. Because just throw a scenario out there where you have Jahmyr Gibbs, St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta, and Montgomery on the field at the same time. Mm-hmm. How are you covering all five of our weapons?
You're not, Steve.
I don't think there's a team in the NFL who's covering all five. There's a weakness on that defense when we line up in that formation and that set.
And I think the problem is too, you got them out there playing behind the best offensive line in football. That's a problem, man. A bunch of guys out there that can win one-on-one matchups, playing behind a line that's going to give a QB time, who's shown if he has time, he can be very, very good in this league. It's a recipe for us to have lots of success, man.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm ready for the season. This draft needs to get here. And then what am I supposed to do from the end of April until training camp starts? Like, hibernate? What do I do?
Hit the fast forward button.
I wish I could. I wish I was like in that movie Click where I had a remote and I could just fast forward right to football season.
Yeah, man, I can't wait either, man. Listen, guys, that's what we got for today. Jahmyr Gibbs, put it in the comments, man. Jahmyr Gibbs, is he the number one back in Detroit? Do you think it should be 50-50? What's the back share that you guys believe we should have here in Detroit? I'm not even going to put it out there as a question. We know, Steve, we got the best two backs in the NFL, the tandem back situation. Let us know what you guys want to hear in the future. That wraps it up for today. Give it to him, Steve.
Peace.
Yeah, man.